front of the church the day of Mother's party. After I greeted and welcomed everyone, uh, you'll hear us each come up and say what we had to say. Also, we were surprised later in the program when Mrs. Garber stood up to talk about when Mother taught her how to knit or crochet. And so that's who she is. You'll see her later in the program. I hope you enjoy this. Be here with us today either because he's recovering from surgery. Um, and of course, Joan, Mother's other daughter, died in 1983 when we lost Dad. But we're going to have you hear from a lot of our family members today, and also show you some pictures after a while. And I'm going to start off, since I'm up here, and I'm going to talk about how Mother and I share the same love of travel. I married an airline pilot, and I have a son that's a flight attendant, so it's very cheap for me to fly. But Mother chose to work her way around the world by taking students and acted as a tour director. She's visited all of the 50 states, I think, except Alaska, and she was scheduled to go there when my dad had his stroke. And she taught geography and history in schools, so she's been to Washington, D.C. She traveled all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean to see us a lot. She's toured most of the national parks, Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Bryce, Zion, Yellowstone. She's been to Hawaii 4 or 5 times. She went to Australia, and she was in London when they tore down the London Bridge. She climbed to the top of the Eiffel Tower. She visited the Parthenon in Greece. She saw castles in Bavaria and Switzerland. I took her shopping with my Aunt Ruth in Mexico and taught them how to bargain and get the prices down before they could afford it. She's been to the Holy Land, walked where Jesus walked, put her feet in the Jordan River, rode a camel to see the pyramids. This woman, a little country girl, but she's really been around the world. With all of the spread across the United States, she still comes to see us. She spent last Christmas with me. This summer, she went to see her sister Gay in Georgia. And if I'm still able, I'm going to be traveling when I'm 90. But I don't know that I'll be as good as she is. And next I'm going to have Eddie come up. Eddie and Mother chose the same profession, and he's going to tell you about that.
Willie, so I just tap the heat freezer. But I appreciate you all coming today, and really do from the bottom of my heart. And Mom's a very special person. I know I'm out a lot. I've taught 29 years, and there's people come up to me and says, "Do you remember me? I had you in math, or I had you in computer." And you know, when I'm with Mom, she had taught 35 years, and you know, we're out, and she says, "Who was that?" Most of the time I'll remember some, you know, that wasn't. Sometimes I don't. When you learn 500 every year, it's pretty tough to keep track of everybody over the years. But Mom, like I say, she had started out teaching, I believe, up in Patterson. And she ended up going to Bristol in a little school called Valley Institute. And then those of you that grew up on Leemaster, we had a little old school right up here where the playground is, and she taught there. And then she went to the high school level down in Grundy where the old junior high is, it's a law school now. And she taught there until they built the new school at the high school, the senior high, so she moved on up there and taught. She did some teaching of knitting and ceramics and things like that for Southwest, and I believe you even did a little driver's education once upon a time, didn't you, Mom? A little stint with driving. And so she's been very active, and the Lord put me in teaching, and I just remember she rode my bus her final year. She was just telling me and said, "This time, I believe I'm going to have to get out." Said the kids are just getting to the point. And that was like, I was thinking, I'm just beginning, and here she is. You know, she's finishing up. And things have changed a whole lot since her day. And I know it's a lot difficult now to compete with TV and movies and internet and all that to get the kids' attention to try to get them on a main stream concept or whatever, but anyways, kids are still kids, and I just admire Mom for putting her life into it, and you know, it's been pretty pretty interesting in my end, but my brother Jerry had brought home an old dog one time. I want to tell this story since Clyde's here. It had been around the mines, and it was just about you could see through it when he brought it home, so it would eat. It would just gorge itself every time it ate like it was its last meal, and it got to be pretty fat. It was a pretty old red Irish setter, prettiest old dog ever was. Its coat was just shiny after it started getting nutrition. And Mom and Clyde went up in the mountains with that dog, ginseng it one evening. And as they come out, the dog got come right behind them in the yard and fell over and died of a heart attack. And that's when Mom and Clyde looked at each other and said, I don't believe we're going to ginseng. They walked the dog to death. I wanted to end on that note. I just thought that was very humorous. That's when they decided to give up the ginseng. It was time to quit. But I really appreciate Mom and her dedication, and 35 years in any kind of job is a feat in itself, and especially trying to help others. I was even one of her students, as a matter of fact, and my wife Kim was, and several in this room have had her. And if you didn't know the answer, she is kind enough to help you every now and then. So I've really appreciated that in her too. But God bless you, Mom. I appreciate you.
Next, we're going to hear from Jerry and Linda. Now, none of us have rehearsed anything, so we don't know how this is going to come off, but Jerry's going to sing some of Mother's favorite songs.
Well, I'm going to try to, fellas. Pardon me if I'm nervous. I didn't think anybody was going to be here, Ben, Kim, you. Yeah, it's a full house. I want to echo Eddie's thoughts about Mom's teaching. I've got 25 years now, 2 or 3 more, and I can retire. But if you went to school with Grundy, you had Mom and Dad one, because that was all they ever did. And Eddie and myself too, we ended up in the same way. Don't want this to be a sad occasion by any means. In fact, quite the opposite. But I've done a song a time or two here at church, kind of like a touch and light song that deals with Mama. In fact, the name of it's Mama Sang a Song, but talks about Dad, and more importantly, it talks about a time that Mom and Clyde and Gaynell and everybody grew up in. It was that time of history when the Lord hadn't blessed our country that much. And for you younger folks, you don't know what hand-me-downs are and things like that, but that was a way of life back then. But at any rate, as I say, kind of doing this for my mom and all the mommies I had on this holler, because I've always said I had a mommy at every door, Aggie Nose and Goldie, and all the mothers I had, and my mothers, called up Mama Sang a Song. You pray for me, and I'll do the best I can. Precious memories, how they linger. I get to thinking a lot about back when I was a lad, about the old home place where I grew up, and of the days, both good and bad. My overalls were hand-me-downs. My shoes were full of holes. I used to walk 4 miles to school nearly every day, through the rain, the sleet, the cold. I've seen the nights that my daddy would sit and cry for the things that his family would need. But all Daddy ever got was a bad piece of land to farm with 700 mouths to feed. But yet, our home fire never flickered, not once. Because when all these things went wrong, Mama took the hymn book down, and Mama sang a song. remember I was rocked to sleep many a night to the tune of what a friend. Come morning, rock of ages would wake me gently up again. And I remember how Daddy used to take the Bible down. He'd read it loud and long. I knew our home was especially blessed when Daddy'd say, Mom, sing us a song. Sister left home first, I guess. Then Bob, then Tommy, then Dad. By then, Dad's hair turned white. I sort of had become Mama's little man. But you know, it seems as my daddy's back grew weak, my mother's faith grew strong. Those were the greatest days of all, when Mama sang a song. Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. I guess the old house is still standing. I don't get to go back too much anymore. There are no voices left to grace the hallways. No footsteps left to grace the floor. But you see, Mama sings up in heaven now, up around God's great golden throne. But I'll always believe that this old world is a better place, simply because my Mama sang a song. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. Thank you, Jesus, from Pat, Phyllis, Jerry, and Eddie, for giving us our mom.
Thank you, Jerry. I don't know, I think most of you know Mother was one of 12 children, 10 lived to be adults. And her sister Lear is now going to come and share what it was like growing up with Mother as a big sister in a house of 10 people. So Lear?
Can I let it all hang out? Give a little down on it. Don't you cry. Go get her. And I know that's not very good English, but go get her. See that? That's right. I didn't know you got it. She wore this for now the first 90 years. And she can live as long as she wants to. Because Chuck, you will notice that I said go get her. When she was at home, if Mommy wanted out to do anything, she'd say, Clyde, Glenn, go get her. And she was always out. She didn't want to work. She didn't want to cook. She wanted to go to the field. Some of you might remember having bean strings. Clyde does. Mommy would pick about 10 bushels of beans, and we'd pile them up all out on the front porch, and everybody gathered around that bean pile, and we'd string. Well, Al had to go to the toilet. We didn't have bathrooms then. Mommy had some flowers that we call them rows of sugar, but back in those days we called them willow bushes. And they grew out in a cup just about like this. And bumblebees sometimes would get inside that. Well, Elle comes along as she comes back from the toilet, and she pulls that bumblebee up in this and pulls it off. Me and Estelle was sitting in the swing of stringing beans, being good little girls. And out walks behind me and she took that bumblebee down on shakes that bumblebee out of her. And I said, Mommy! And then Al said, oh, I threw the bumblebee out, but the bee stayed. I went over to get some more beans. Oh boy, I don't know how many times it popped to me before. Out running. And Mommy says, Sid, Glenn, go get her. Sid didn't want to catch her. He didn't want to see her get away from me. He'd get up pretty close to her and he'd say, run out, Toby. That was just one time. One thing. I gotta tell you some more. It's good. Can I have the next 9 years? Alta and Glenn were well, they were a little closer in age, and they worked together a whole lot, and Mommy sent them to the barn one morning to milk and to feed. Both of them had a cow to milk, and Alta got hers milked first, and when we milked, Mommy had a peg on the wall like that right over there that she hung the milk bucket on, and she let them milk in some little quart long-handled dipper, so if the cow kicked it, it wouldn't kick it all out, you know, when it got dirt in it or something. And Al had got hers done, and Glenn said, I'm just about done. You set that bucket down right here, so I won't have to get up every 2 minutes. Al did, and she went on to get old Van's corn, and when she come out from feeding old Van, all the chickens were fastened up. There wasn't a chicken anywhere to be seen. But here was an old Rhode Island red chicken that raised up out of that, but it was a drinking. It looked like a snowball on top of his head. And that night, they didn't say a thing to Mommy because they knew they discussed that. So that night, Glenn said, I don't believe I want any milk. Al said, me neither. She was an outside person, and she was a go-getter. She got her education. She worked hard for it. I have to beg on her a little bit. We share a lot together, but once a teacher, always a teacher. We can be working in the garden, and I don't like much of being as old as she does, but she said, get that weed behind that hill corn right there. And I said, "Al, that's a bean." She sees it, but she's still a teacher. She's we had a good garden this year, and nearly everything that we put out except bell peppers. We just had more than we could share. Another time, if it rained in the summertime and it got too wet to hold corn or do anything else, Mommy sewed. Poppy was out somewhere doing something, and Glenn said one morning, he said, Al, let's cook dinner. Al said, now we're not working in the field and I ain't a-cooking. So Glenn built a fire in the cook stove and went and dug some taters out of the garden, and I think I made gravy on them. And while he was gone, I put the cornbread on, and we got the dinner ready, and Al was the first one to tell she was going to get it. But Glenn just walked up to her and said, you wouldn't help cook. He led her from behind the table out on the porch where she sat while we were cooking. And she says, now, when we eat all we want, you can come in and eat, and besides that, you're going to wash the dishes. But that's just part of it. I couldn't begin to tell you all of that. We shared together. We fought the only time Poppy ever hit me. we were washing the dishes. Estelle and Jay had already gone to play, and Al was, we weren't big enough to stand at the stove and wash them, and Al was washing them, and she was doing just like this. I wanted to go play. And Al was just, she's doing it to aggravate me. She knew I wanted to go play. So I threw some dishwater on her. And she threw some back on me. We done that a while until everything was good and wet. And the first thing we know, we got some stripes across our legs. That was the first time. And I guess I got more whippings over Alta sass than Mom. She couldn't learn not to sass her. And when it made Mommy, when Mommy got mad enough to whip somebody, get the sweet cat hickory off the top of the cabinet, she whipped every which one got in the way. And I got more whippings over her face than Mommy than ordinarily did I. Well, I didn't deserve it. But I love her. And we've had a lot of time. One time we quilted together a whole lot. And one morning she said, "Now you get out of that bed in the morning. I'm going to be over early." Well, Ralph had left about 4 o'clock that morning, and he got down to the mouth of the holler and he had a flat. Well, he had to come right back, and he didn't have a key to get in, so he come and knocked on my window. And I said, "Out! It's not even daylight yet." I thought it was out, but we fussed a whole lot, and we fought a whole lot, but we had a good time. We had good parents, and we love each other. Chucky bought you this hole. I said, you can paint, or I will, right, y'all paint this handle red or whatever color you want to paint it. We'll put this gold on it and use this one and marry it up.
Thank you, Leah. Mother can't get through a day without calling Leah and telling her to come over and see her. They're like twins. They have to be together.
Phyllis, I need to share one more story real quick. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I had a little old pump one summer that I used to, it had fire hose, and it would, you know, you put it in the creek and it would, you know, you could wash your driveway, your house, whatever. And Mom and Leah were, they had that little garden between me and Chuck, and they were worried it was going to dry up. And they just said, would I hook it up in the creek? And we'd made a little old dam across the creek. And I went on to night class, and as I was coming back from night class, it's about 8:30, and turning, you know, in the summer, the days are a lot longer. And I noticed something coming up the holler that the creek was dry. I never thought anything of it. And come here they were squirting that garden down and dried the creek up right where they were down. And I just admire them because Lear, and you could always, when the corn got so high, you'd see Lear's car parked down there, but you wouldn't know where they were. You had to get a message, but you'd see the rows of corn shaking about where they were. But I just admire Mom and Lear because you could count early in the morning, late at night, they'd be in the garden gardening, but they drive the creek up, and I thought that was worth it.
We're going to let grandchildren come up and tell you what they think is special about their grandmother. And I think to keep it simple, I'll start with my 3 boys, because Barry's the oldest grandchild. So Barry, Greg, and Joel, if you'll come up, and they'll share one liner or two.
You want to look for I'm Joel, I'm the youngest. I work,
Joel, Greg, and Barry, youngest to oldest, just to
yeah,
get
I'll go first. My favorite thing is growing up city boys. My mom's a good cook, but Granny always had that stuff out in the garden. She wouldn't let me, still doesn't, let me leave the house without eating a dozen eggs in the morning. I'm not making that up. And put a slab of butter in there and it's big. But she always makes sure I'm always too fed, but it makes me happy. And that I've always loved her for that. And like I said, she's even gone and visited us in California. And she still makes sure that I have something to eat, even though she's not cooking. And she'll get on you if you don't eat too much. She's always
She's always made me happy, and I always appreciate her and love her for that. Happy birthday, Greg.
I'm Greg, and one of my jobs today is to get some pictures. So. Just smile, everybody, and act natural. I've been fortunate as that I've been able to come out quite often, and ever since I was a small boy, my father was an airline pilot, as Phyllis mentioned, and we were able to come out sometimes twice, even 3 times a year, and it was just great for us because we were kind of city boys. We lived in a rural community, or a suburban community, but coming out here and being barefoot on these old tar roads and playing in the creek and swinging from the trees, it's just something that you don't get out there in California. And the accents and everyone carrying on with such characters. All my cousins and Chuck's family, and coming out to see my uncles and aunts, and we just stayed so busy. The time would fly. Sometimes 2 weeks would go by as if it was just a night. And Granny would always feed us, as Joel said. She was tremendous at taking care of us and watching over us. And she would always call over to where we were playing and make sure that we came home for lunch. And one day, I was probably about the age of Lindsay here, about 4. I'd just eaten a sandwich, and I was in such a hurry to get back over there. Granny was up on the porch, and I was running out across the yard over towards the bridge, and she says, "Come back over here." And I said, "I'm going over to play with Howie and Kenny." She said, "No, it's come a storm now. You're going to get all wet." And I said, "How do you know there's a storm coming?" It was, the clouds had come in, but there was no rain. It was probably more ominous than I gave it credit for. No sooner than she said, "It's going to come a storm." Boom! Big crash of thunder. So she must have had a one track with God, but I turned around and I said, "Well, you're right." I started walking back up there. I can hear him walking around up there. But I think she's told that story more than I have. But it just makes me think of what a caring individual she was to me. And I love you, Granny. And every time I come, I love you a little bit more.
Hey, Granny, I want to say happy birthday. And I'm Barry. I'm the oldest grandson, Phyllis's. And I got to come out here with Alta's great-grandchildren, Sumner and Kasdan. And as I was traveling out here with the kids, it reminded me of what it was, what the adventure was that was the trip to Grandma's house for us as we were growing up, like Greg said, a couple times a year if we were lucky. And some of the fondest childhood memories were flying out here and then driving out and heading up the holler to see Grandma and Grandpa and Uncle Ed and Jerry and Powell. And I remember just coming out here Sundays to go to church. And then after church, walking back home again and sitting down at the table where Grandma had been putting together food and cooking and you know, just a whole table full of country cooking and the rousing chorus of, "Barry, you're not eating enough. Come on, you need some more there. Get yourself some more food." And as Greg and Joel both said, it was always an adventure trying to, you know, keep from exploding from all the food we were eating. And last night we were eating dinner in the kitchen, and sure enough, I'm sitting there eating my second plate of chicken and dumplings and green beans and corn and cake, and I just finished my second plate, and I'm feeling pretty full, and I hear this voice, and I turn around, there she is in her walker going, "You need to get yourself another plate of food. You just haven't eaten enough. You too, you eat up there." And it just brought me all back, and I really, really am glad to be out here again, and I'm really just thrilled to be celebrating your 90th birthday with you. Happy birthday, and I'm glad to be back.
Two of the boys live near Los Angeles, and Joel lives in Las Vegas, so we all came cross country. Now I'm going to ask Jones girls to come up, Cindy and Diane, and they're going to share something about their granny with you.
Hi, I'm Diane, Jones' daughter, live in Arizona, and after my mom died when I was about 15, Granny took me in, and I was having a little trouble in math, actually a lot of trouble in math, and I think the only reason I passed is because of Granny's homemade jam. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm so glad to be here and able to share your birthday with you. I love you so much.
You graduated in Grundy here, didn't you?
No, in Arizona. But I did get my driver's license here. Granny also taught me to drive. She's always teaching.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I grew up in Arizona, but I live in Colorado now. And the Lord blessed me with a daughter. And when I found out that we were having a girl, the nicest thing I could do for my grandmother was give her her name. And so we named her Lindsay. And Granny and Phyllis both, they went through a hard time. They lost their father and their daughter and sister in nearly the same month, and the two of them have been wonderful mothers and aunts and a grandmother to us. We couldn't ask for any more. We're just so glad to be here, Granny.
I don't think you quite understood Diane's strawberry jam. She was bribing the math teacher with it. That's why she passed. Now we're going to have Eddie's children come up, Josh and Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm Eddie's daughter, and I live right across the road from Granny. And she always keeps me well fed, well dressed. She always makes sure that I'm safe. If Mom and Dad are gone, she's just the greatest. And I have a poem for her. What is a grandmother? She's gentle and sweet and very petite. She's bold and strong and will help you along. She's old-fashioned and great, a truly best mate. She will not let you falter. Her ways will not alter. There is no one, no other, not like my grandmother. I love you, Granny. Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm Josh. I'm probably Granny's youngest grandchild, probably. I just want to, all the grandchildren have touched how much she feeds anybody. If you stop at her house, you're a total stranger. Ask, you can use your phone to call a record for a spare tire or something. She'll feed you. And she always puts a stick of butter in everything. Stick of butter in the corn, stick of butter in the beans. Yeah, and the dumplings. She's a healthy granny. And she always teaches cooking and gardening. She's been a teacher all her life, and she's tried to get me in the garden a few times, and I appreciate that. And I just love her, and she's been really good to me. She's probably the number one reason I'm as spoiled as I am. I remember always hearing stories about how she always snuck a little bit of chocolate syrup in my milk, and my formula when I was growing up. But I love her, and I appreciate all she's done for me, and hope she has a great birthday and many more to come.
Thank you, Josh and Elizabeth. Gotta get a sip of water. I wrote a song about Mother, and I'm going to sing it, but I've never sang a solo before. So listen closely to the words. Hopefully this is going to be it. I'm willing to humiliate myself for you, Mother. This is an old familiar Loretta Lynn tune. She was born a poor preacher's daughter in a big old house on Lee Master Hollow. They were poor, but they had love. That's the one thing her daddy made sure of. He farmed and preached to make a poor man's daughter. Alta was one of 12 kids in all, and she was born real late in the fall. Spent her days in the field hoeing corn, with big sisters, her clothes were well worn. She attended church and rested well on Sunday. She graduated from Rio Grande High School. Married Lindsay and had 5 kids to rule. All the work she did was hard, and at night she'd sleep 'cause she's tired. She never thought she'd leave Lee Master Holler. She was proud to be a poor preacher's daughter, but wanted more for her own kids than fodder. She went to college and then taught school, tried to teach the golden rule. To relax, she'd just come home and work in the garden. She traveled over halfway around the world, although she was just a country girl. With her family spread far and wide, in Virginia she was happy to reside, 'cause she had the love of all her friends and family. Now she's reached the golden years, they say, and dominoes is what she likes to play. At age 90 we think she's great, so heaven will just have to wait, 'cause she's still living here on Lee Master Holler. Oh, you're too kind. Next, Greg and I have put together a video of pictures of Mother's Life.
She did concede to let me turn my back to her, and she would say, all right, now you do this, and you do that, then you do this, and then you do that. And I learned to crochet from Mrs. Lindsay, talking to my backside. Which was a very good thing. A very good thing. So she is a crocheter. I don't know how she ever taught me, but she did.
Begins and ends with you. The names are still the same. The story's still the truth. I was alone. You found me waiting and made me yours. You're the story of my life, and every word is true. Each chapter sings your name. Each page begins with you. It starts the day you came, and ends the day you leave.
Go get the children. Do you want to sing? want to say anything, Mother? Give you a chance.
I would just like to say she didn't say anything about how we was brought up. I was a little girl just starting to school, and my daddy would say, now we're going to church on Sunday, don't plan anything else. We're going to thank God for his blessings of the week and ask him for forgiveness any sin we committed. And I found out early in life, you could rest assured whatever you did, your sins would find you out. I got to tell this one about Clyde. Mommy had a big field of corn, and she had planted it, and the corn was coming up, and she gave Clyde and me a big bucket of beans and says, now I want you to plant a bean in every hill of corn. Well, we did for a few rows good, and we got tired. So when the corn came up, it was under rocks, in every stone, everywhere. So Clyde can remember that. And, so we didn't get by with anything. We learned very early in life that your sins would find you out. So from then on, we came to church, we learned how to love other people. One other thing I want to say, it's so different today from Burdine Looney's where you turn up to Fanning Boys. If everybody had a cornfield, everybody got together and went in and worked out that cornfield. Not only that, Clyde marked on the calendar, we were grown. Clyde marked on the calendar, says 45 days we, worked out whole fields of corn. But that's the way we came up. People don't help themselves anymore. And like that. So Clyde said, when I get married and have children, I'm not going to make slaves. But the Lord has blessed me. Whenever you do, I want to say, especially to my great-grandchildren, that if they'll let the Lord go to church, let them mind their parents, love other people as themselves, that they'll always prosper. I've had a rich life because I always put God first. That's the way I was taught. And not only that, even when I got into my professional, I chose teachers because I love children.
I gotta say one thing more. Already know she had an issue. 3 weeks ago. They took her butter and her fat back away from her. And when she came home, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want my beans. She said, no matter what we fixed her, she didn't want that. She wanted what she'd been used to. Boss says, now, Al, we love you. You can't have that. And you
Gee.
You're gonna
I
have,
tell you, I believed in God. I thank God for my father and mother, the way they brought us up. And, he trained us right. And everything in my life I prospered because I let God lead me. The last time I went down, the last time I got my driver's license, I had 2 cataracts, at different times cataracts removed, and they said, one of the girls that I taught lived up the hollow here, worked it. She said, I'm sorry, Miss Lindsay, but I'm gonna have to, you can't drive at night time. And I said, why? I had a cataract removed and I can read the fine print on my check. And somebody, ever who it was, behind over there, said, Alta Nancy, and I turned around and said, sir, he says, you know, you got your first driver's license in 1937. You've been driving over 63 miles and not one citation. I turned around to him and I said, sir, every time I opened that car door, I asked the Lord to take the wheel, and he did. So the Lord has blessed me in everything. I've got to tell one other thing, Gardner. I worked with her for years.
they're getting restless, Mother, go ahead, short.
When I went up to the senior high, they had 2, I was a home ec major, and they had 2 home ec teachers, and I said, the principal of the school said, Miss Lindsay, says, I got 2 home ec teachers, says, and you're certified, said, would you take government history? Okay, and I said, that'll suit me fine, I'll be glad to. Okay, after I did that, couple of years I was up there, there's a program called IES, International Exchange School. Some of you went with me on the tour. We went to all the European countries, South America, everywhere. I would take a group of 20 or 25 students, and I want to tell you, I took teachers to help me. But I said, going to other countries, I'm afraid. You know what I mean? You don't know what you're going to. And they mentioned the Holy Land, and I signed and says, I'll go. We stayed in dormitories and had bus drivers, a teacher, pointed out everything in the Holy Land and things. And the Lord blessed me. I did that from 1968 to 80. And Mr. Lindsay had a stroke. And I retired to take care of him rather than put him in a nursing home. So the Lord has blessed me in all of my life. And I'd like to tell my grandchildren that if they want the Lord to bless them, He created us in His own image. And if they want to have the best things in life, they can start now, train themselves up. Let the Lord lead them. Thank you, Lord.
Fred.
These 2
Gee.
boys are my grandsons. This is Sumner Casden. This
They're gonna